If someone has continually shown us that they cannot show up, the real question is not why are they not showing up, but the real question is why are we still here? So I wanted to sit down and chat with you guys about why it is that we have such a difficult time letting go of relationships that deep down we know aren't right for us. And I'm sure that every single person watching this video can resonate with this at some point in their life, whether it be a really close friendship or a romantic partner. But we all have those times in our lives where we can feel deep down, we can feel that there's this understanding and knowing that something is not working or something is not right, yet it's very difficult to let go. And the reason why this is because the people that we have a very difficult time releasing, especially the people that aren't necessarily bringing that much good into our lives, right? If we know that someone's not right for us, then obviously we're not getting that much benefit from the relationship. So the question is, why are we holding on to it? And the deepest reason why is because these types of relationships mirror our primary relationship with our father or our mother. And oftentimes when we choose close partnerships and relationships, what we're doing is we're trying to heal what we did not have an opportunity to heal when we were a child. And this is why people always say you end up dating your mother or you date your father. And usually it's the parent that caused us the most amount of pain and grief. And it could be both parents even, right? It could be dynamics with both parents. But until we heal our inner child, until we close out that cycle and we get from ourselves what we were looking for in our parents at that time, then subconsciously we're going to choose partners that mirror to us that childhood dynamic so that we can then try to fix what we didn't fix when we were younger. And we know that this is dysfunctional in nature because oftentimes if we had a parent who hurt us so deeply, they were emotionally unavailable, right? So then we choose partners who are also as emotionally unavailable, and then we try to extract some sort of love, affection, attention, validation from that person who does not have it to give. And that cycle in itself, and many people go through this cycle over and over and over again, whether it be with the same person or different people. It's the same energy, but with a different face because the lesson hasn't been learned. And we will keep meeting the same person until we learn the lesson. And so the reason why these relationships are so hard to let go of is because the wound hasn't been healed, right? When we heal the core wounds, and for everyone, it really does come down to a sense of feeling defective, feeling not worthy, feeling not enough in some way, feeling not loved, not lovable. For every single human being, everyone has their individual stories, but if you developed any sort of unhealthy attachment from your childhood, it's always going to boil down to those few ideas and concepts, right? Which are so far from the truth of who we are, which is why they're so deeply painful. So until we have the courage to actually go into our bodies and experience that and feel that and make peace with those feelings and essentially close out that cycle, because we cannot look to another person who's emotionally unavailable to then give us some sort of availability. It makes no sense. And the reason why oftentimes logically we know this, right? So that's why your logic may tell you, I don't know why I'm still in this relationship, but then your emotional body is still there. And this is why, because your emotional body and the subconscious is really closely related to the inner child. And if the inner child has not been fully integrated into the adult self, if we're still walking around as the inner child, then the inner child is running the show. And think about that. Think about that for a second, right? How do you feel about a child making your big life decisions and decisions related to, the relationships that you choose, the people that you have in your life? Would you want a child making those choices for you? And most people would say absolutely not, right? We would want a conscious adult to make those decisions. But the reality is, and this is really sad to say, but the reality is that most people are walking around looking like adults, but are behaving from their inner child. And it's so difficult to break these patterns because this core pattern is the root of addiction, right? So when you look at someone who, let's say, has an addiction to alcohol, drugs, sex, whatever it may be, these addictions are all related to early attachment trauma. And it's essentially a running away from the self, because as a child, that's what you were taught to do. That's what you were indirectly taught to do. So as an adult, you find different means to run away from yourself. So maybe you run away from yourself by chasing relationships, chasing drugs, chasing alcohol, like I said, whatever your fix is, essentially. But it's a pattern that you would have learned at an early age that does not work as you become an adult. And people start to see this because people go through these patterns and they go through them over and over and over and over again until finally they go, okay, why does this keep happening? I need to change something. I need to do something because I can't keep going through this painful cycle, right? And so when we start to become aware, right? When we start to actually stop and question, why do we keep doing this? And we start to take accountability rather than saying, why is it that this person can never show up for me? And start to, ask ourselves, why do we keep choosing the person that we know can't show up for us? If someone has continually shown us that they cannot show up, the real question is not why are they not showing up, but the real question is why are we still here? As we begin to heal that wounded inner child, it becomes a lot easier to loosen the grip on these unhealthy connections that are mirroring these early dynamics that we would have had. And this is really what the healing work is about, because until we do this, we will always be stuck. We will always feel powerless because we cannot live a healthy, authentic life if our inner child is running the show. And this is why I created the Become a Love Magnet course, because I wanted people who are struggling in this area of their life to have the tools to come back to self. Right? Because oftentimes if we grow up in an unstable environment, or if we grow up with some sort of attachment trauma, we don't have the tools. We were never given the tools to navigate the world, to navigate relationships, to navigate our relationship with ourselves, most importantly. So oftentimes people ask me, where do I start? What do I do? And that's why I created this course, because it teaches you, first of all, let's figure out what is your attachment style? Right? That's one of the beginning questions in the course, is figuring out, how do you love? Are you loving insecurely or securely? And then we go into our relationship with ourselves. How do we see ourselves? What stories have we created, about ourselves? And how can we begin to shift and change those and really connect to our soul? Because our soul is the truth. Our soul has the answers of who we really are. And our soul is where we find peace. If we continue to live in our ego, we continue to live in depression, in sadness, isolation, rejection, abandonment, because these are all the stories of the ego. And so as we begin to shed our own skin, we have this ability to connect to something that was here all along. So this course is not about getting you to a point where you're adding something onto yourself. It's about uncovering and letting go of all of the things that have been distracting you from seeing that you have been worthy this whole time. So if you've grown up in an environment where you were taught otherwise, then I highly recommend working through this course. There's worksheets, an inner child healing meditation, and a bonus video to support you on your journeys, because I know that this information is so important. And I think nowadays, where we're at in life, so many people are learning about manifestation, and that's amazing and that's wonderful. But even manifestation, it's so important to have a foundation of self, because if we don't, we keep repeating these patterns in our manifestations, right? So, when it comes to love, when it comes to relationships, when it comes to friendships, even when it comes to our financial situation, if we don't heal these core wounds, we will perpetuate the same cycle. So we may manifest things in, but it's still going to create the same pain within itself, because when we come into this earth, we are actually being called to become whole. So every experience, everything that we encounter is going to trigger our wounds so that they can come to the surface and we can release them so we can actually come into wholeness. So this is a lot of what the course teaches you, but of course the information is always going to be down below in the description box. I also have created a Take Your Power Back Masterclass, which I highly recommend. Now you can start with this or you can end with this. Either way, it's really vital information, because this teaches you to live a life where you are in the power seat, where you are empowered. So often we give our power away to other people, to situations, to events, to past experiences. And when we learn how to ground ourselves and live in the present moment, this is when we can actually start to create a really fulfilling life. So I know that was a lot of information, but I do truly hope that this video helps you. If you're looking to receive personal one-on-one coaching, I would love to work with you, and the information for that will be down below in the description box as well. But I'm sending you guys absolute love and light, and I'll see you soon. Take care.